Yeah, a gentle start to this presentation. Now, there's a lot of resources out there to help you that don't cost you any money, and I guess this is one of them. Another one is my award-winning podcast, and you can see me there a couple of months ago with Lawrence, who was a PQ Student of the Year, and there's my award in respect of my podcast, which is freely available. And if you found it already on Apple or you found it already on Spotify, fantastic. If you haven't, it's a very free and award-winning and I think very useful resource. That's what it's aimed at. Structure. We always want structure in everything in life, really, I suppose. Children want structure about going to bed. Students want structure about learning, approaching exams, and what are we doing in this presentation. It's going to start with some introductions. I want to talk about the exam and how I can support you, and then I want to deal with your questions and answers. So it's very much the right approach, very much a structured approach. I like the number 3. So let me first of all introduce myself. I'm an ACCA member, which meant that when I was in my 20s, many years ago, I was an ACCA student. I was working, I was studying, I was trying to get married. I was juggling life. All right. So I know what it was like. I did these exams. Yeah. I didn't have any exemptions. I came through the system, came through the bottom. Yeah. And I qualified. And I qualified whilst working for KPMG. And I worked in their insolvency department, or they called it actually those days the corporate recovery. So instead of talking about liquidations, they tried to talk about turning it around. Anyway, cut long story short, that wasn't for me. I fell into teaching. I worked for AT, Emil Wolf, financial training. Then we became FTC. And basically, I was working out of London, same organisation, kept on chopping and changing. But all good things come to an end, and I ended up teaching out in doing a lot of work out in Singapore, bits of work for ACCA, and I left Kaplan. And when I came back from Singapore, I went online. So I've been in the online space now for 3 or 4 years. ACCA still use me. I have a long relationship with ACCA in terms of writing articles, doing train the trainer, delivering sessions throughout the world for them. So I was doing an Instagram session today with Lucy. But my main focus these days is delivering online courses to help my students pass SBR. So there will be a little bit of a sales pitch within this presentation. Good. Okay, so I've introduced myself to you, and in fact, that's my wife. That's Jenny. I think it was taken in New York some time ago. But the idea of introductions is I would like you to introduce yourself to me. Okay, let's share the information that we've got. Thank you for your participation. And let's have a look. So question number 1, 50-50 really. Half of you did a degree, half of you did FR. This is fairly typical. If you did a degree, you're a little bit suspect perhaps as to what you missed out on because you got an exemption, and you may have done an essay on foreign currency, but you don't really know anything about financial instruments, for example. I don't know, or the other way around. My course, and some of you have done FR, and some of you may have done FR a year ago, 2 years ago. Some of you may have passed FR with 50%, 52%, or some of you may have done FR very recently and got 60, 70%. And if you did it very recently and you got 60, 70%, fantastic, but you're in a minority. The majority of people either have been exempt or did FR a year or two ago and are a bit rusty, or passed it with 50, 55. So I want you to pass SBR. Now, in order for you to pass SBR, you need 50%. And there is an overlap between, that's not my wife, by the way. There is an overlap between FR and SBR. I teach the basics. I make sure in my SBR course, I build in what you need to know to pass SBR. So where it is relevant for FR, I'm reteaching it. I'm reteaching it. I want you to pass. My course is a one-stop shop. Okay? So, yeah, half of you have done an exemption, half of you have done the exam. Fantastic. Secondly, which question suits you best? Which question suits you best? We've got another 50-50 split or 45-55 split. Some of you have passed another strategic professional exam. I love it. Fantastic. Well done. Well done. I mean, I think SBR should be done first. It's the most logical paper to do first. But if you've already passed a strategic professional exam, you know what it takes. You know they are not straightforward. Yeah? You've learned something about your learning style. You've learned something about your commitment that you can take into SBR. Those of you who've already passed a strategic professional exam, think what you've learnt on your journey. Bring those skills. Bring knowledge of yourself into SBR. It will help. It will help. Your exam technique, your ability to work under pressure, you're answering the questions. Fantastic. If SBR is your first exam, welcome. Half of you is your first exam. And that's perfectly natural. Perfectly natural. It's got the highest pass rate. I know it's a scary exam because it's, fierce with its technical input and it's got, ethics and it's got numbers and it's got everything in it. But you're in safe hands. Yeah, it is very, very passable. Excuse me. Question 3. You all want to pass SBR. That's why you're here. You all want to pass SBR. Now, half of you want to pass it in September. I don't know exactly who I'm talking to. If you want to pass it in September, I'm assuming you've completed tuition. If you want to pass it in September, I'm assuming it's a resit for you. If you want to pass it in September, I assume you're some kind of genius. The normal student, the average student, hasn't got a hope of passing SBR in September if it's at the end of July, which it is, and you're just thinking about what shall I do next. Doing SBR in September is not a valid option if you're a standing start. I have to be honest. I have to be realistic. I've closed my courses. I don't want your money. Not prepared to... That's a wild goose chase. Irresponsible to think that you can now start studying today, combined with having a life, working, and think that you can be ready to pass an exam, in basically 6 weeks' time. Cuckoo. There's 4 exams a year. So think very carefully whether you're doing it, because if you are doing a reset or you have finished your tuition studies, okay, I get it. If I've upset somebody, apologies. If you want to argue with me, message me on WhatsApp. Tell me your individual circumstances. Maybe I'll give you my blessing. Maybe I'll continue to argue with you. All right. but think very, 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 very carefully about whether you want to do September or December. All right, because to do September from a standing start now, you're going to waste a lot of time, a lot of effort, and it's really unlikely that you're going to pass. So there we are. That's my responses to your responses. And I hope, Manav, you understand the third question now, what that enters into, yeah, when you scroll down, whether where you want to pass it. So it was a valid question. Okay, let's keep moving. Oh, let's keep moving again. What's that? What are you seeing? Do you look one way? Or do you look the other way? If you look that way, the eye's looking that way. If you look that way, the eye's looking the other way. The dot is the eye. What animal are you seeing? Hey, Cheng sees a duck. Farid sees a duck. Mohammed sees a duck. Christina sees a duck. Ah, Cheng now sees a rabbit. If you look to your left, you see a duck. If you look to your right, you see a rabbit. Both answers are right. No one's wrong. And do you know what? That is sometimes the case in SBR. You've got to back your opinion. You've got to have a judgment. You've got to make a recommendation. So it's not binary. Life is not binary. You're not seeing one thing. Different people are seeing different things. And that's welcome to the strategic professional world. And that's SBR. I mean, in SBL, goodness knows, yeah? There's all sorts of bull that goes on in there. You can see all sorts of things. Right, let's talk about the exam. I'm interested in the exam. So let's talk about the exam. I'm interested in you knowing about the exam so that you can pass the exam. I am focused on the examination. It's a compulsory exam. Every question you have to do. It's 100 marks. It's 3 hours and 15 minutes. Question 1 will be there for 30 marks. It is on group accounts, consolidations. And if you've done FR, you know the basics. But in SBR, it builds. So there's foreign currency and there's step acquisitions and there's control to control and foreign subs. And you're having to deal with words explaining what is going on. Now, you are not preparing the accounts from scratch. You've done that in FR. That's been tested. What you are doing is you're given the answer. You're given a pre-populated spreadsheet. You're given a set of accounts, which you then correct. The first thing to do is you've got to have the knowledge, and then you've got to have the ability to apply it. And in my course, I take them side by side. You must learn how to use the pre-populated spreadsheet during the tuition phase. It's really important that the exam has evolved and the exam has changed. So has my course, so that it reflects the way the way that I teach is going to reflect the way that you are going to be tested. And that to me is really important. Question 2 is on ethics. Now, ethics has to have a context. So you might be in a bank where they have decided not to allow a leading politician to have a bank account, and is that the ethical thing to do, to turn a customer away in that situation because his values allegedly don't align with the values of the bank? Discuss. That's a context. Now, that's in the news today. That's Nigel Farage, if you follow any form of UK politics. Obviously, that particular situation is not going to be that relevant to SBR, but ethics has to have a context. And often that context is accounting errors, Yeah, creative accounting, mistakes being made, manipulation of the accounts, or just bad controls and bullying and unprofessional behaviour. It's not a technical part of the syllabus, but it's an important part. And if I mark your work, I can help you gain additional marks for the professional marks and the way and the approach that we structure the answer. So, sometimes I see the examiner's answers, which by definition are not wrong, but they're not achievable. They're not what you can aspire to within the time allowed. And you can't see how they're constructed. I in my course, there's a lot of videos. In my course, I'm showing you how that pre-populated spreadsheet answer is created. I'm building an answer. Yeah, simultaneously constructing the numbers as well as dealing with the explanations. Accounting standards is a river that runs right through the whole exam. Although I say question 1 is on groups, accounting standards will be in there as well. Although I say question 2 is on ethics, accounting standards will be there as well. And although I say question 4 is on investor focus, accounting standards will be there as well. Yeah. Application. You've got to have a go. You've got to understand the principles and you've got to apply it. Now, again, there's an overlap with FR. Provisions come up, depreciation comes up, impairment comes up. Yeah, that you've all done before. You haven't all done it before. I teach you to make sure that you understand how it's going to be tested. Because at FR, it's either tested as a multiple choice question or it's tested as part of an accounts preparation question, basically. Whereas that's a very different style of exam question when it comes to strategic business reporting, because you're having to explain to an investor about impairment. You're having to relate impairment to cash flow. You're having to articulate and identify that because the factory is burnt down, then it is impaired. So you're being cuter. You're using some of the same knowledge, but in a very, very different way. Application. Now, the whole business about the pre-populated spreadsheet in question 1 on the group accounts balance sheet, group accounts P&L, or group accounts cash flow, that is new for September. Make sure my material's up to date. It has to be. Yeah, I'm a platinum provider. Yeah, I ran a training session on behalf of ACCA this summer to help train the tutors around the world on the updates of the changes. So I had to get my business, I had to get my notes in order. Question 4 is has evolved into less of a current issues question, more into an investor focus question. You have to put yourselves in someone else's shoes so that you're explaining some aspect. Why profit doesn't equal cash. Why the investor should be interested in sustainability reporting. Yeah? Does anybody know what APM stands for? In the context of strategic business reporting, what does APM stand for? Any offers? Millie? Susan? Any thoughts? What APM stands for? Almost, Farid. Yes. Performance measurement. No, in this context, Susan, it's not advanced performance management. It's alternative performance measurement, APMs. Things like EBITDA. So alternative performance measurements. So companies try and communicate with their investors and give additional information that they're not legally required to. And is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Is that misleading? Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not. So there's an emphasis there. The exam in September will be different from June. because the syllabus has slightly evolved, the format of the exam has slightly evolved, but it is evolution and not revolution. So it's same but different. Same but different. So I've talked about the exam, and what I would briefly like to do is to talk about my platinum course. Because if you do want to pass the exam first time, then and you are starting from scratch, then you're aiming for December, and you want a proper course which has a tuition phase as well as a revision phase. And this course comes with a pass assurance. I am confident that you will pass this exam. And if you don't, I will support you through a reset. The one small print is you have to get 40% in the actual exam. Yeah? This is an engaged, active course. I support you. I hassle you. I mark your work. Yeah? I want you to pass. Once you've paid me that money, we're in this together. Yeah? Get the platinum because of my pass rates. I get the platinum because I care. And I want you to pass. So this is my job. This is my business. This is disintermediation. If you want a bit of SBL kind of bullshit, you are dealing with me. I am the quality control. All right? I have a wealth of experience in this. Yeah? This is Wednesday night. This is me. Yeah? I've written the material. I've designed the course. I deliver the course. I'm proud of this course. I'm proud of the people who pass it. And online actually means more engagement. It means more interaction than I used to have. I used to keep people awake at the weekends in Borough High Street. Yeah, and just to keep people awake. Now, if you're sleepy, you stop the lecture. Yeah, you're in control. You can make the video go faster. You can make the video go slower. You are in control. And I take in marking. I take in marking in order to understand where you're going right and how you can improve. I give you that feedback. And my feedback is on the right as opposed to the student answer, which is on the left. So it's detailed feedback. It's not just mark, tick, tick, tick. All right? You know whether the answer is right or wrong when you look at the model answer. But why is it wrong? You know, what have you done? And what have you done well? You know, reflect on the good things. I talked about how half the people have already passed strategic professional exam. Yeah? And so you need to reflect and remember and reinvigorate yourself for those good things that you've done. QR codes. You've all got mobile phones. You can hold up your mobile phone and you can gain access to a free sample of my course. Whether it's the tuition phase or whether it's the revision phase, you can use that QR code to get a free sample of my course. I've also posted the link on LinkedIn today. So that's another way, if you, for whatever reason, you're driving or you haven't got a mobile phone on you, you can find me on LinkedIn very, very easily. I have a very unusual name, Tom. Well, Tom's not that unusual, is it? You know, Thomas, the twin, the disciple. So it's a biblical name. It's an old name. Tom Jones, but Tom Clendon. I have got a second cousin called Tom Clendon, and I've got a great-great-grandfather called Tom Clendon. But Clendon is a very unusual name, Clendon. You'll find me on LinkedIn, and on LinkedIn today I posted a link to a free sample. I mean, I can show you that free sample if you want. Let's do a new screen share. So if you do click on, then you get this, and there's a tuition sample and there's a revision sample, and you're interested in tuition. So the course is broken down, and what I've got going on here is my notes, an article, there's a quiz, but it's not supported on this format, and there's a video. Now you may think the video is half an hour long, but actually the video does go on a little bit longer than that, and that's because it's interactive. Oscar Wilde is one of my literary heroes. Fantastic quote there, I think. But look, let's talk about IFRS. You don't just want to be a parrot, you want to be able to apply that definition. Yeah, so the video is there. It contains sometimes these pauses that you have to then engage with, and it gets you to think, it gets you to work things out. Oh, there's my wife again popping up. Now there's a picture of my wife. Sell it. You can either sell it at the quayside or product, where you actually sell your goods. Yeah, or the transaction costs. So the fair value is 33. We ignore the transaction costs because the transaction costs are not a fee. Right, so back I go, back I go, back I go. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Anna. Anna is one of my current students, and thank you for that positive affirmation. Thank you for attending this evening as well. So yeah, there's a little free sample there, and thank you, Anna, for your warmth and your support. I'm open to questions. It's been a long week. It feels like a week, and it's only Wednesday. But you know, we had results out on Monday. If you had results, I hope they went well for you. And we'll have results out in 3 months' time. But if you want to pass SBR first time, you know, I want you to be thinking, and I'm here to help you. I'm here to support you. All right. So I do a certain amount of free material that I put out there through my podcast, through my YouTube channel, through my LinkedIn posts, and I encourage you to follow me if you'd like. But also I have dedicated online courses that I suppose I am promoting, you know, through a little bit of content-led marketing. You understand the business model. Anna, now that you told us the structure for the exams, what are usually the marks for each question? Okay, so this is a little bit of inside information. This is a little bit, but it's also picking up on the examiner's reports. Okay, question 1 and question 2 are normally done well. It's not uncommon for a student to get 28, 30 out of 50 in section A. All right, in those first 2 questions, that's not uncommon. Students who fail often don't fully address question 4. So they may only get 5 marks in question 4. And if they get 10 marks in question 3, they failed. So they can get 30 marks in section A and be on course for a pass, and then their performance dips. And there's 2 reasons for that. Sometimes students don't study the whole course, so they lack the knowledge. So they know about group accounts and they can bullshit their way through ethics and they get by. All right, so they can do well on the groups, do well on the ethics, and then they haven't studied pensions and they don't really know about financial instruments and they can't really they can't really do section B. The other theory or the other reality is they spend an hour on question 1, they spend an hour on question 2, so they do quite well on those 2 questions. Then they've only got an hour left basically to do the other half of the exam. So time management. All right, so the sad thing is the average mark per question seems to go down. Question 1 and 2 are done well. Question 3 and 4 are done less well. But of course, there is always exceptions to the rule, and there are different strategies that we can have as individuals. And the nice thing about the course that I do is I'm marking 2 mocks that I set you on the ACCA practice platform. And because they're set on the ACCA practice platform, you know what mark you got. More important than that, you know why you got that mark, how you can improve, and you've experienced the pressure of doing a real exam on the practice platform, manipulating the windows, and it's a fresh exam that you won't have seen before. Abby, how much time is enough time to put in for the subject for the December sitting? Different people have different lives. Some of you are parents. Some of you are working 9 to 5. Some of you are working 8 to 6. Some of you are commuting. Some of you are looking after your parents. Some of you are looking after your spouse. Some of you do the shopping, and some of you, your spouse does the shopping. So there's everyone's in a slightly different situation. Some of you are smarter than others. That's the reality. So the sooner you start the course, the more you can do little and often. The sooner you start the course, the more flexible your study plan is. So if you do fall ill for a week, or you do have a deadline at work because your boss is ill, or there's some kind of, takeover or some year end, you can put your studies on hold. But the later you leave your studies, starting your studies, the more vulnerable you are to a puff of wind that throws you off course. So if we take the December exam, November is the month of revision. So you need to finish the tuition phase by the end of October. Now, typically it may take 2 months, 2 and a bit months. So there are 10 units on the course. Typically it may take 2 months to cover that. So that would be September and October. And, here we are at the end of July, turn of August. So if you started now, you could still have a holiday. You could still take a week out. It would be comfortable. It will be comfortable. Or you may be working 8 till 6. You may be, have commitments, and starting now is exactly the right time. I just would encourage you not to leave it late. I just would encourage you to make a start. Now, included in my course is both a pass assurance, which means that if you do fail, I will support you again a second time, subject only to you getting a 40% in the actual exam. But also there's an ability to flip. So if you get promoted, if you get ill, if your partner gets pregnant or you get pregnant or something happens that means that you really can't do the exam, I can delay it. I can delay it for you for 3 months. But it requires communication. And I know how well you're doing because you're sending me in assignments for marking. There is a dialogue going on around marking. I'm marking your work. I'm correcting your work. You're progressing through. So I hope that answered your question, Abby. It's a bit of a long question. Kat, is the marking similar to other strategic 1 mark for making 1 point? Yeah. Yeah, basically. Yeah. I mean, the difference with SBR is that we only have 4 professional marks. So you're earning every mark. when you look at things like SBL and AAA, there are 20 professional marks available. So you actually only have to earn 80 marks of technical content, and then within producing your answer, you naturally pick up the skepticism and the presentational marks. That's not the case in SBR. So it's a little bit more content heavy. It's a little bit more content heavy and time pressured than some of the others. Saini Job, I recently started studying. What's your advice? Well done. Keep studying. Little and often. Enjoy it. Get your work marked. Yeah? Do a little bit of learning, but try and do much more understanding. Christina, I've started. So my December course is available. It's on demand. So it's there. It's ready. I've taken some enrollments today. And students are able to log in and they're able to start studying. They're able to work at their own pace. Evenings, mornings, lunch breaks. There's little quizzes to do, little and often. And then if you get stuck, I'm here on the WhatsApp. I'm here to support my students. That's okay, Christina. Good question. Thank you, Kat. Would you like to hear a joke? It's not very funny, by the way, but would you like to hear a joke? Anybody like to hear a joke? Why not? Okay, all right. So I've told you it's a joke, and I've told you it's not very funny. Okay. Did you know that there are 3 types of accountant? 3 types of accountant. Yeah? Those who can count and those who can't. Yeah? So three types of accountant. Those who can count and those who can't. There we are. That's the joke. Are we laughing? Probably not. Bless you. Thank you. Oh, yeah. So I'm an accountant, Manav, and there are 3 types of accountant. Those who can count and those who can't. So there's a bit of self-depreciation in there. Thank you, Millie. Don't encourage me, please. Susan, I'll repeat to you. There are 3 types of accountant. Three types of accountant. Some can count and some can't. Yeah? 3 types of accountant. Yeah? Those who can count and those who can't. And remember, I'm an accountant. So I'm one of those 3 types. Good. Right. Any other questions? Any other questions? What do you call a short-sighted dinosaur? What do you call a short-sighted dinosaur? Do you think he saw us? No? Do you think he saw us? Yeah? What do you call a fish with no eyes? What do you call a fish with no eyes? A fish. A fish. Yeah? Fish. What do you call a deer with no eyes? What do you call a deer with no eyes? I've no idea. Please, Ava, don't think it. Anna, sorry, don't encourage me. Don't encourage me. I do prefer talking about SBR. I mean, I can talk about rugby. I can talk about my wife. I can talk about my kids. I can talk about anything, really. But if you're not going to ask me any more questions about SBR, I am going to say thank you. And in my head, silently, I'm going to count to 10. And then when I get to 10, I will say good night. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Millie. Hope it's been useful. You should have my mobile number. You probably know how to find me. And I'm here to help. All right, I'm here to help. And, you know, there are some free resources that are available to you, as well as what I put out on LinkedIn, as well as what I put out on YouTube, as well as what I put on my, you know, podcasts. So take advantage of that. But if you want a pass assurance, if you want a proper course, a platinum course that is flexible, that includes marking, you know where to find me. You know where to find me. And it is better to pass it first time. Yeah? Let's be in that 50% that pass it first time. It is sad and frustrating, you know. Students come to me and say, oh, I self-studied, or I went with this, but I didn't really understand it properly. They didn't mark my work. If you go on, well, you can take a photograph of that, screenshot it now, and it's there now. Or you can find it on LinkedIn. If you go on LinkedIn and you find my name, Tom Clendon, Clendon, yeah, and you find me on LinkedIn, I do ACCA, SBR, you'll find me. As I say, my name is very unusual. There's a lot of our family in New Zealand. There was an emigration, a couple of emigrations. What price failure? The course, yeah. Look, if you go on that, you'll find the price of the course fairly easily. I do stage payments. I invoice employers. So yeah, the course is reflective of the marking and the quality of the course. Maybe it's not actually. There's plenty of more expensive courses out there. But I deal with individuals. I don't deal with corporates. I don't sign up big cohorts and stuff. I'm an individual person. So my fees are $997 for the platinum course that I've been talking about, which includes the ability to flip, which includes a pass assurance, which includes the tuition, the revision, includes me. That's what you're buying. That's what you're buying.